Hey y'all. So this video is mostly going to be about the other side of this worksheet, but I just wanted to point out one thing since I'm not there. Just make sure, so hopefully you did okay on this activity. It's just kind of practicing some of the stuff we did last week. But one thing I wanted to point out, when you see exponents raised to a power, it's super important that you take the number that you have and raise it to the power first before you start applying that 3 to the x and the y, right? So 5 to the third, I would probably just punch that in my calculator. So 5 times 5 times 5 would give me 125. And then I would distribute those exponents there. So x to the negative 2 to the third power, I'm just going to multiply and get negative 6. And then y to the fourth, 4 times 3 makes 12. Right? And then when I look at my answer choices, I see that right away, those are wrong because they lead with the 15. And then the only difference between this and what I have is that negative 6, you just have to understand that negative exponents can be shown as denominators on a fraction, right? So it just flips the 6 to the bottom and gets rid of the negative, right? So flipping it makes the negative go away. So if you're remembering to do that right away, you should be able to eliminate 2 answers and then just think about where's that negative 6 going to end up. I did want to look at 3 questions with you guys. So if I was there, this is what we would be doing together. Basically, you right away, you're seeing that there's some division going on and your brain needs to see exponents, it needs to see division and think, okay, I'm going to subtract the exponents. So you start with the 45 divided by 15. So 45 divided by 15. In the calculator, that would give us 3, right? And then at that point, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do each letter one at a time, right? So because I don't know what m is, I have to use a shortcut to simplify those exponents. Whenever I see division, my brain says, okay, we're going to subtract. So I'm going to start with the negative 6, and I'm going to take away a negative 2. So some of us might be able to do this in our head, but with all those negatives, my default is always just to go straight to the calculator. So negative 6, take away negative 2 would be negative 4. Okay, so just punch that in your calculator. We're going to do p next, so 2 minus 8. 2 minus 8 gives us negative 6. And then we'll do our v's. And sometimes it helps just to circle or cross out as you go. So we're going to do 12, take away negative 4, right? So some of us know that taking away a negative is like adding, but again, just be safe, punch it in your calculator to get 16. So because I've done the numbers, I've done the m's, the p's, and the v's, I just need to rewrite my final expression. So I'm going to start with 3, m to the negative 4, p to the negative 6, and v to the 16. So the problem is right now, this is a correct answer. I don't see it here. What can I start getting rid of? Well, I know it leads with the 3, so I'm going to get rid of the 30s. And then you just have to look at the m, p, and the v. What do you notice? Negative exponents. So if we're having to choose between these answers, right, this is the same thing as this. It's just moving the m and the p to the bottom. So I could just write it as 3v16. When I move the m with the negative exponent to the bottom, I can get rid of the negative exponent because I'm just flipping it. And then same thing for p, right? So that is my final answer. And then we're going to move on. So I'm going to zoom in. Okay. So here, I want you just to look at the numbers first and think about what is weird. Yeah, the 1/2, right? So everything else is going to kind of happen the same way. I'm going to kind of go one term at a time. So that's super important. Those parentheses just mean to separate. So I'm just going to focus on the 7x to the third and raise that whole thing to the second power. So 7 to the second is 49. And then, so I'm going to bring that down. And then x to the third, so 3 times 2 is 6. So that's my part 1. And then for here, you can kind of just bring it down. 8 times a half. So I can put that in the calculator. So 1 divided by 2, right, in parentheses. So 8 times a half, or you could just say half of 8, is 4, right? So it's going to be x to the 4th. So all I'm doing is using my shortcut for the power rule. I just have to do it 8 times a weird number, a half. So that's the only twist on that. Once I get to this part and I have both terms done, then I can just combine what's the same. So 49, there is no number there, so just keep it. X to the 6th, x to the 4th, so 6 times 4, right? I don't know what x is, so I'm just gonna use my shortcut of adding the exponents to get the 10. And that is it. If you notice, right, just knowing how to do 7 to the 2nd power, you can get rid of 2 answers, okay? So, just kind of box that and move on. And then this last one looks kind of wonky. You basically just need to go, like if you think about, they kind of look like fractions. When y'all were in 6th grade, we multiplied fractions straight across. So all I'm gonna do is just kind of multiply the top times top, bottom times bottom, and then simplify. So step 1 is just to take what's happening on top. So 5 times 4 is 20. Cross them out. A to the 3rd, A to the 2nd, so that's 5a's. Cross them out. B to the 2nd, B to the 5th, so B times B times B times B times B times B times B, that's 7b's. And then that's just 1c right there. So I could think to myself, right, 1 plus negative 5. So 1 plus negative 5, I'm adding because we're just multiplying. So 1 plus negative 5 in my calculator would give me negative 4. So the top is done. On the bottom, I'm just going to go 4 times 3, which is 12. I'm going to do 1a times negative 4. So 1, negative 4, I'm just going to add those together in my calculator to get negative 3, right? Just cross out as we go. And you'll see that's important because look, there's a b to the 2nd, but then I don't have a b. So if I'm not multiplying by anything, I just keep it, cross it out. And then 3, negative 6. So 3 plus negative 6 would just be negative 3. And then at that point, it's going to look a lot like the one we did above, right? So I'm going to start with my 20 out of 12 and simplify. If I just did 20 out of 12 and turned it into a fraction, and let me just get my calculator for that. Sorry. I'm running around the house with my sick daughter. Okay, so second clear, 20 divided by 12. If I hit enter, it gives me an ugly decimal. I hit math, change to a fraction, and I get 5/3. So some of us are gonna remember how to do that without a calculator, but if you're rusty on that, calculator is the way to go. So I have 5/3 for A, B, and C. I'm gonna slide this up. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this math. So 5, and I'll kind of just work over here since I'm running out of room. So for A, I'm just gonna do 5, take away negative 3, equals. For B, I'm just gonna do 7, take away 2, equals. And for C, I'm just gonna do negative 4, take away negative 3. Let's slide that over. So 5 take away negative 3 is going to give me positive 8. 7 take away 2 is just 5. And then negative 4 take away negative 3 actually gives me a negative 1. So if I see this and I come over here and I don't see what I have, I'm just going to start crossing out anything that doesn't look like what I have. So that 8 is definitely wrong. Then I have A to the 8, B to the 5th, C to the negative 1. You're just kind of looking for those numbers. So I'm looking for an 8, a 5, and then just like the example before, that C is just going to move to the bottom. Right? So you just have to understand that these two things are the same thing, right? When in doubt, pick the thing that looks most like what you have. So those numbers are wrong. And then here, we've never seen anything like that, and you won't see anything like that. So just, it's ugly. All right, here is your challenge. You have 3 problems by yourself. You can work in partners, obs, but I want you to work on these 3 using what we talked about in the examples above. The tricky thing is we don't have calculators, or excuse me, we don't have answers. So you're gonna need to basically talk to each other, help each other. If most people have similar things, like if we solve individually and then work together and check our stuff, if we have the same thing, then we're most likely right. So these 3 I'll have answers for, but for now I want you to work them out without an answer key. And then your final mission is to kind of look at this paper. I wrote some little steps on here that match up with what you guys have here, where it says identify, correct, and justify. So all you're gonna do for this is correct the work. So if I do 2 to the 5th, right, just start with the problem. I get 32. And the reason I get 32 is because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 makes 32. Right? So sometimes the justification and the correction is going to look very similar. But identifying the mistake. So how did they get from 2, 5 to 10? Yeah, they multiplied. So rather than just give you a bunch of more problems to practice, I think if you can do these 3 and feel pretty good about that, this is just a different way to learn and to think about things. If you can find other people's mistakes, right, and identify what that is, then you'll be a little bit stronger in your understanding. So best of luck. You're going to do this. You're going to flip over to the back when you're done, and basically everything you do today gets turned into me. So this is your participation grade for today. So the more work you do, the better your grade will be. If you do all of it, that's 100. If you 90%, that's a 90. But with the time we have, I think 100% is reasonable. Best of luck. This is the last time I'm missing for soccer, I think. So you'll be good. We'll see you Thursday. Bye.